Hello and welcome to the Next in Line podcast, where we are helping to prepare you for whatever is next in line. As always, I'm your host, Chance Pitts, and I would like to thank you for tuning into this episode of the podcast. Oh, there we go. Now, guys, thanks to this co-host I got going on over here, Mr. Lane Divin, we got the on-air light lit up. That was gifted by Mr. Michael Ruiz to the podcast, so that's a pretty cool little thing we got going. But guys, I'm getting to sit down again for the first time in a while by himself with Mr. Lane Divin. Super excited about that. Welcome to the podcast.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, man. It's been a little while.
Yeah, I think the last time you were on the podcast was the Rocky Raccoon group episode.
I think the last time by myself was right after Spartan Ultra, I think.
Yep, up there in so. Grand Prairie.
Yeah. So that would have been October of 22.
Do me a favor, move that mic up a little bit further in there, boy. Tuck it in.
Better.
Nah, tuck it in on your mouth, bottom lip there.
Is that better?
That's better. If
That's
you can
better.
ride it up a little bit higher, yeah.
No, yeah. I think it's like October of 22.
Yeah. So
it's been a little while.
It's been a hot minute, man, and there's been some big changes going on in life. One of the big reasons I wanted to get you in here and talk to you is because what we try to do is encourage people on this podcast to take on big things in life. We've seen some people do some crazy cool stuff, right? We've seen them start running and leading into ultra running. We've seen some people lose a ton of weight and get motivated. We've seen them decide to take on challenges in their career and their personal life that they have voiced out and said that they wouldn't have done otherwise. So it's really cool to see. And not saying that we had that kind of influence on you here, but you took on some pretty good changes here recently, and I wanted to kind of talk about a couple of them, whether it's the physical side of the things that you're doing,
Cool. Yeah,
or the personal and career side.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, man, we've had development in all three, I reckon, to tell you the truth. So it's been lots of growth or changes all across the board.
Do you have any preference on where we dive into first on that?
Man, it don't matter. I think something that we've been, I was going to say working on the longest has been probably my bodybuilding route that we've been going through. But I'd probably say my marriage takes precedence over that. There you
go. I'm sure
Kendall appreciates that.
Yeah. Kendall will appreciate that for sure, man. Yeah, bodybuilding. So you've kind of been a jack of all trades here within the movement and within your personal life, right? Pacing people for 30 miles.
Yep. Man, I mean, shoot, really just a little bit of everything. We dove into the running, dove into the Spartan racing type sort of thing.
Took on your own Spartan ultra distance event.
Yeah, man, first Spartan and first ultra all at once. And then we changed gears. We've been in the weight room lifting pretty heavy ever since. So,
man, you showed me those progress pictures of you today, and man, it's just insane. He's got a wing spread on him now.
Trying to fly, baby.
That's right. Pretty dadgum wide. But man, it's cool to see. So what do those changes look like? I mean, what has that been like transitioning from? I mean, we talked about it a little bit. It's not necessarily a lack of discipline, because it was definitely there, but it's a different kind of discipline, right? Different kind of structure going into it. So what are some of those big changes you've shifted gears on in that direction you're heading? Just what's that structure look like?
I feel like a aspect that probably people really focus on when you talk about bodybuilding, the obvious is going to be lifting, right? In reality, the focus is more on your nutrition. And it's been an adventure in and of itself. It's been pretty difficult at times. But I've really tried to capitalize on my discipline in that regard, and the weight room itself has been pretty exciting. Just going in and changing some stuff up over time and staying consistent with it. So
what were you doing? I know there's a lot of maintenance style stuff you were doing, and you've always been pretty structured with weightlifting.
Yeah.
But going from that maintenance stuff and just some of the more calisthenic work we've talked about doing with the pull-ups and fun stuff like that, dips, what does your structure look like now? Are you on the machines more? Are you doing more barbell stuff? What is that?
Well, so it kind of depends on the growth cycle, or really just the cycle in general. Within that period of your competition or building phase or whatever it may be, right? So you got to go through, from what I've learned so far, the first few months is going to be building that base, right? Obviously, with your running and I imagine with CrossFit and everything else, you have to have a solid base to really start making a bunch of those gains, making a bunch of that progress. So for me and my coach, we're going through doing some pretty consistent Olympic type of lifting for a little while, getting my strength there, making sure my form is there on everything. And then from there, we rolled into a bunch of ISO movements for your different muscle groups and stuff like that. And then now recently, we've kind of transitioned into your generic, your pull days, your push days, stuff like that. So. We've gone through a few different changes. You got to keep your body adapting to continuous growth. So
Nice. And how many days does that put you on the weights?
So the past, let me think. So for my first 12 weeks, I was in the gym 4 days a week. And then now with my new program that we just started up 2 weeks ago, I'm lifting 6 days a week.
Lifting 6 days a week. And you're doing some cardio, right, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep. So 3 of those days are 2 days. So I'll lift in the morning, and then I've got some cardio going on in the evening. So
okay, man, that's quite the regiment that you're on. I know we don't slouch whenever we go in the gym either. I know that from a fact, lifting a few times with Mr. Divin here and him trying to kill me in the weight room.
I don't know, man. You've tried to kill me a few times.
Yeah, it's a mutual understanding that we just
like my wedding day.
Yeah, fair enough. But man, whenever you get in there like that, it's kind of crazy to see the way you attack things, because you're not talking about simple, just kind of go in there, knock out a 30-minute weight session. I mean, you're typically in there well over an hour from what I've seen, and I mean even going into an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours at times. So pretty dedicated process, it sounds like, at least on the physical side, for sure.
For sure, and like even the type of lifting, I imagine is probably different from what you're typically used to or what you typically see, right? You see people going in there, they're going to be high rep or high, I guess typically like high reps, and they're just kind of going through that movement. But we have very specific movements with some high intentionality behind what we're doing. We got explosive movements. You're controlling the weight down, exploding through that rep, and then, really just focusing on those different apexes within that lift, essentially. So
I got you.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
it makes sense.
I mean, me and you have lifted together a few times, so you know what I'm talking about. But
yeah, a lot of scaling up and down, and I mean increases in weight as you're lowering your reps and things like that, and just kind of calculated on more growth, I guess is the best way to put it, rather than endurance.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty fair.
And which is total
explosiveness.
Total opposite of what I've done in my past, of course, and that's why I joke about Lane Divin killing me. But man, with that, you mentioned how important the diet side is. Do you want to run down kind of what your diet's been through this point? I know it's changed a bit, right?
Yeah. So pre, I guess bodybuilding phase for me, I was pretty strict through 75 hard, and I stayed pretty strict afterwards while I was going through live hard and all of that. But I was on a super low carb, high protein diet. I guess my fats were kind of average. But my coach had me completely switch gears, and it was quite an adjustment, going into this process. I've been super high carb diet. My protein is where it needs to be. I sit at 185 grams of protein per meal. For my main meals at least, and then but my carbs are pretty high. So, but my calories, we started off, just trying to find a base for me. I was at 2,800 calories per day, and I was actually losing weight. We started off at, I think it was like weighing 195 pounds, 200 pounds or so, somewhere around there. And, same thing with lifting and everything else, your nutrition, you got to have that baseline nutrition. You got to find where your macros are, where you need to be in order to maximize that nutrition guideline that you have. So, so we started off at 2,800. Currently, I'm at 3,600. We've increased my calories over the past, I guess it's about 16 weeks or so now. I think the goal my coach has for me is setting about 4,000 calories, which is quite a bit.
It's quite a bit.
It is. But, you have to make sure you're eating enough to make sure you're getting that muscle growth, that maximum potential for your muscle growth. So that's what we're shooting for right now. I think I started off 195, 200, somewhere around there. Right now, I fluctuate between 212, 215-ish, somewhere around there. I weighed in at, I think it's like 213 today, which is different for me. Going through that process, last year, going through 75 hard and dropping all that weight. And here I am putting it back on, which it's a different physique for me this time. But some days it's hard seeing that, man. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, man. I know we've had some conversations about that before, but even talking with Mark and Missy on that podcast we had them on for the interview, man, it's really easy to get addicted to that number and that kind of judging your health and your physique and where you're at based off of that scale going down and being closer to a number that seems lighter or more lean. And the truth of the matter is, looking at the progress pictures even that we explored, you're arguably more lean muscular than you were at some of those other points you've been at.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, man, it's just really cool to see and to hear that as well. So, man, I think that's a great point. And, yeah, you're going to argue with yourself on it a little bit. But, and
I think it's one of those, it's like a true, like, everybody has seen that Instagram post where it's like, it's just a number type deal, and they'll show a picture of them at this weight and then a picture of them at that exact same weight and completely different physiques. And I for me, like, I'm in that same boat, but I think with me coming off of my big weight loss, a year ago, like there's definitely days where I still have that battle mentally, but it's just realizing, like, look, yes, the number may be getting close to where you were, but like physically you're completely different. Like, this is a healthy 215. Not a bad 215.
Sure. No, and that's completely different, right?
All that, and then, shoot, man, not just physically, but you can start looking at the different, like, your physical capabilities, right? Because now, if we're looking at where I was, a year and a half ago, I wasn't in the 1,000-pound club, which is nothing great, but, it's like, I feel like it's a benchmark where you can kind of set yourself at.
Absolutely. What is the 1,000-pound club, just for anybody that might not know?
So the 1,000-pound club is your cumulative weights, all added together between bench, squat, and deadlift are 1,000 pounds or more. So it's just the addition of all those, and with me being in the 1,000-pound club, weighing 215. And I can still bust out a sub 8-minute mile if I needed to. Like, that's something that's pretty cool to me, at least.
That's phenomenal.
I know Barnes out there probably says otherwise, but
man, yeah.
But it's all relative, right? Seeing where I was a year and a half ago, weighing what I started at, I think it was like 227, 225, something like that. And then just the progress where I am now, like, it's just completely different. So it's pretty cool.
That is really cool, man. And a couple of points of clarification, just rewinding. So for your maintenance calories, that's kind of your area. You can define it as a plateau, right? That's where you're not losing, not gaining.
Yep, precisely.
Daily operating.
Yep. That's your basic nutrition needs are met caloric-wise, and you're not, like you said, not losing, not gaining. Mine probably said about 3,000 or so. I was losing at 2,800, so.
Got you. I think I'm somewhere in that ballpark as well.
Yeah.
I think the high twos. But another kind of thing I wanted to dive into a little bit on that. You're talking about, in essence, everybody says the word bulk, right? You're in some ways, or
bulking. Yeah.
You're bulking. That's just outright.
Absolutely.
You're bulking.
Absolutely.
Trying to gain some weight, but you're doing it with the intention of gaining good weight, right?
For sure.
So this is a very clean process for you.
It is.
Assuming.
It is.
So what do those meals look like? You talked about the diet. I want to dive into that a little bit.
Yeah. It is. It does not change from day to day whatsoever. So, man, for breakfast I have. Well, okay. For breakfast I have 5 whole eggs every morning. I have 125 grams of oats with 150 grams of berries every single morning. I have a snack that is 1 Honeycrisp apple. It's pretty dang good. You gotta get them sugars in. Yep. Yeah. And then 1 ounce of almonds with the protein shake. My lunch is 185 grams of chicken, 4 ounces of broccoli or asparagus, depending on the day. I can go back and forth between the two. And then for a while, I was at 225 grams of white rice, but that was recently jumped up to 285. So 285 grams of white rice. For my dinners, I will go through 185 grams of 90-10 beef. So that's where I get a little bit of that fat from. 4 ounces of bell pepper, and then, the beef. So, and rice. So again, it's going to be that 285. And then for my snack, it's 32 grams of peanut butter. So that's 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, actually measured out. So for you folks out there cheating, it's very easy to go over that one tablespoon of peanut butter. It's a lot less than what you actually think it is. Especially
whenever you're quote unquote eating maybe a little bit more of a junk or cheat meal kind of thing. Because peanut butter, whenever you're eating as clean as he is eating, that very much feels like a treat.
Oh, absolutely. I look forward to that meal every night. But yeah, so 32 grams of peanut butter. And then I have, what is it? It's 100 grams of granola and then some Greek yogurt with it. So.
Okay, so a little sweet treat to cap off the evening.
Yep, basically, man. That's about it. That's my diet. So it's been my diet for the past 16 weeks or so. Obviously, the amounts have changed as we've gone on, but that's what it's looking like.
So I got to ask the question. I know why, but man, why? What makes you want to put yourself through that? The same food, the same amounts of food, the meticulous counting everything out, just to a T. I'm sure you get bored. I'm sure you get tired of it at some points. But what makes you just keep doing that?
Oh man, I think it's probably the same reason why we do anything that we do. It's just testing yourself. Through consistency and through discipline, you're gonna see growth in whatever it is that you do. And for me, this is something that I've promised myself that I would commit myself fully to. And, it's an experience I need to see fully through. And so, that's what it is for me. Just following through on my word to myself and some others that I've made that promise to. And it's just another one of those things, man. It's just trying to push myself where I can. And, for a lot of people, the monotony is what gets them. But that's what makes that difference between that first and second place is how you are during those tough, monotonous times. So
I completely understand. I'm going through some of that with my running right now, man, trying to get back on track. So that's words from the wise right there. I like that a lot. But man, it's crazy that you've been able to keep up that kind of consistency with all the crazy things and all the changes that y'all have going on.
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned, obviously, the marriage. Congratulations, first off, to you and Kendall.
Thank you. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. No, it's been a blessing to be around that and be a part of it. But how is she on the supportive side of all that with obviously you're probably eating different from each other?
We are.
She's having different meals, and she's there's probably some fend for yourself nights, and
definitely. I'm so blessed in that regard with Kendall. Like, she is so supportive in whatever it is that I do. I think that's something that we're both very blessed in. But there's definitely some nights where she's like, I'm tired of eating chicken for you, like, and I'm not even eating it. It's like, I understand, but
yeah,
it's just part of the process. It's just one of those things. But no, she's fully supportive of it, which is pretty dang awesome. Makes life a lot easier too.
Yeah, no, I can imagine, and
makes my meal prepping days go a lot quicker as well.
I believe it. Does she dive in and help you do the cooking and
she
stuff
does.
like that?
Yeah, she does. She'll go through, chop up bell peppers, and help me measure some stuff out, and makes it, man, that process. If you're in there by yourself, my Sunday meal prep is about 4 hours. So, and it's just going through, getting every single thing lined out. So
that's wild, man. My meal prep today, I think I went through about an hour process of just getting things prepped out, and then about 30 minutes to cook. So with what you're doing and how much you're having to eat and all the craziness, and see, I'm not weighing anything out or doing anything crazy. I'm just getting close and making sure I have fuel for the runs I'm doing in forms of carbs and protein and all that. And to see you diving into that, that's a whole different world.
It is, man. It is. I mean, it puts food into the different perspective, I think as well. I feel like a lot of people lean on food as comfort. I mean, I think everybody's leaned on food for comfort at some point. But you start looking at food as fuel for your body. It's like, if I dive off of my diet, I go have a cheat meal, man, I feel pretty dang bad. So it definitely puts food into a different perspective when you have that type of relationship with it. So
no, that's a great point. And I thought about something whenever we were talking about what you're doing right now with trying to bulk up a little bit and gain some good weight. I actually had a guy reach out to me this past week back home, and he's working on putting on some weight. He's always kind of had the opposite problem of me and you. He's always been pretty lean, pretty long, and thin, and he wants to start putting on some muscle, especially in the upper body and that kind of thing, and just gain some weight. So as somebody who's going through that process, who's learning about nutrition, what would be some of the kind of top things for somebody like that to look out for? What does he need to be doing in order to maybe put on a little bit of healthy weight like he's doing?
Yeah, I mean, it just really ties back into your discipline and your consistency. For me, going through and slowly incrementing, higher calories throughout my meals, there's definitely times where you're eating and you're not comfortable by any means, and it's just another part of that process. You gotta be comfortable with the uncomfortable. That ties into food, unfortunately, with bodybuilding, right? If it's something that you're struggling with, you just pick up the dang fork, man. You just gotta keep on eating. If that's the struggle that he's dealing with, it's just like anything else. You just gotta keep at it. So,
no, that's good advice.
It's just straightforward. You just can't overthink things like that. So.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I mean, it's easy to get lost in the research of it all, right? There's 1,000,001 YouTube videos about
paralysis by overanalysis.
Man, I know me and you have talked about that
you dang
too
right.
many times, because we get caught up in it in other aspects of our life, and even these. But
we do absolutely. And I mean, shoot, man, we're not perfect by any means, so we struggle just like everybody else.
Yeah, no, for sure. But it is cool to get in here and be able to share some of that different perspective and some of the things that we've picked up on through these processes we're going on and all this fun stuff we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, I appreciate you sharing that and helping out somebody that's reached out for some help to Next in Line. I actually might connect him with you at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know you're more knowledgeable on that front than I am. So
send him my way, man. I'm happy to help.
That sounds good, dude. Well, I don't want to shy away from any of the other big things that you got going on in life. Man, you are, a couple weeks now married?
Married, yep.
So,
hold on, let's see. We are 1 day shy of a month, so.
Dang it, man, already.
By.
Holy smokes.
It's flown by.
I guess that's right. Holy smokes.
Yeah, because we got married May 26th. And then that weekend we went to good old Mexico. Enjoyed a full 7 days over there. It's hard to come back, man. You got all inclusive drinks and food and everything else at a resort. It's nice.
Probably didn't have a problem hitting the calories
No.
while you were around there in Mexico.
No. And I mean, thankfully, my coach, he's like, look, man, it's your honeymoon, it's your wedding, like go enjoy it, right? And so I definitely enjoyed myself. I had some nachos and some good shrimp tacos and stuff like that. It was pretty dang good. But yeah, no, it was a good time. So we got out there. We did some scuba diving. We did some deep sea fishing. What else did we do? Did some paddle boarding, just hanging out. It's cool.
There you go, man. Sounds like a good time, and I know the changes haven't stopped there. Y'all undertook some pretty substantial stuff here over a short time. The reason Lane's so able to sit in here in the podcast studio with me, and you're probably going to see more of his face if he wants to come hang out with us.
Absolutely.
Is because he also recently moved down here to Divine, Texas.
We did, man. Right across the golf course from me.
Yeah, he's about a mile as the crow flies. He's about 2.25 miles down the road if you run the roads.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're right around the corner. You'll probably catch a lot more of Lane. You'll probably see a lot more of the activities we'll be doing together down here as well.
Heck yeah, man. Should come to the gym with me.
That's right. Try to kill me one more time on a more regular basis. But it's okay. I'll put him in the cold plunge too, and we'll get even on that.
Oh, come on with it.
There we go. Hey, it's right out there, man.
You're dang right.
Oh shit.
No, man. I mean, I everything in my life has been God's timing, and I think truly recently has been such a I don't know what the word I'm looking for, like an apparent fact of that for me, Kendall's and I relationship and how we met and how it got started and everything else. I mean, you know that story, and just us, getting married with the timing of it and getting down here, and it's just been all straight God's timing. With my new career, I'll be starting up here soon with my new company and everything. It's been pretty dang cool. It's been pretty dang cool to see how it's all played out. So it's something I'm very, very thankful for. So,
man, it's been awesome to sit on the sidelines and see y'all just finding all kinds of cool opportunities that have pushed y'all closer to where y'all want to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's really awesome to get to celebrate many of those things with y'all. But, man, in the course of a few months, you're deep into bodybuilding and changes and all these stresses. Then you get married. Now you've completely up and moved 3.5 hours across the state. Not to shy away from the fact that you're taking on a new career and in something that's familiar.
Yeah, familiar, but still different.
A little different, right? Yeah. Different company as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's within the realm, but it's not fully comfortable. So, man, how do you is it just kind of living on a prayer, jump out there and do it, or is there some courage that it took, man? And if so, how do you muster up the courage, and how do you handle that situation of deciding, hey, it's time, and pulling the trigger on something that sounds like y'all been hoping for a while and looking forward to for a while?
I think a lot of that just comes back to having faith that it's going to work out how it's supposed to. I don't get anxious about anything. I try not to. And Kendall's probably a little bit opposite of that fact, but you can control what you can control. And, there's a lot of factors that you can't control. So, you don't really dwell on those things because you can't do anything about it. Right. But, you can start just trying to make stuff happen in the direction that you want to go, and just having faith in that process and that plan and God, and just letting it see how it all plays out, man. I don't know how to really answer that one, but
yeah,
I don't know. I've always kind of gone along with the punches while I've had my own plan, in those punches, I guess. So
yeah, I mean, what's the hardest part about what you've just kind of on the professional and career side of this, I guess, between the move and the career switch? What's been the biggest hurdle for you? What's been the biggest factor? I mean, I know there's so many unknowns with it, but is there anything that kind of was I guess you had to tiptoe up to the ledge and then it was really deciding to step off into the unknown kind of thing? I mean,
yeah.
What is that?
I mean, I think me and you had a talk about that, right before I started initiating everything. Is like, should I do it? Should I wait? And then, we had to talk about it, which helped me through that process a little bit. And I prayed about it many times. And, I was just like, look, you just got to get this thing rolling and just have faith, and what happens. So starting that process, I would say it was probably the most difficult because I truly loved where I worked at and who I worked with. I think the culture is what makes or breaks that company or the job or whatever it is that you're doing, right? It always comes back to the culture more so than the job itself, I feel like. And for me, it was pretty difficult, not necessarily betraying anybody, but knowing that I was going to be leaving that company and trying to start looking for the next move for myself and my new wife, but I just had faith and what was going to happen was going to happen. And so, I started throwing my name out there and had a few different opportunities, and I'm happy to see where I ended up. So I'm pretty excited for it.
Absolutely, man. And, Chris Barnes, I know if he listens to this podcast, he's going to burn me for saying absolutely, because apparently that's my response, my favorite one to
Both
say.
Both of us, man.
So, yeah, gotta be gun shy. Gotta laugh about that. But not to take away from what you just said, man. And there's something I kind of, as a person in the leadership role, looking at you and what you were for where you were in the location and the people that worked for you and with you. I mean, as a leader that's respected and who's done some awesome things where you were and everything, how does that process look whenever you're getting ready to walk away from that to go take on something else? What are some things you wanted to keep in mind, and some kind of, not necessarily a legacy you wanted to leave, but what are some things you had in mind and made sure to take care of and kind of do as you're looking to preserve that bridge and that relationship as you do transition and have to do what's best for you, right? Is there anything that was a challenge or that you really worked towards as you walked out?
For me, it was, my team meant the world to me. And I think that they knew that. And I think it's part of just building that relationship over the time that you're with those people. There's a difference between saying that you care, but there's a difference in showing that you care. And, there's some stuff that needed to be taken care of. And I made sure that I got those squared away for them before I was gone. And it's something that will always be implemented there from here on out. And we can dive into that a little bit later off camera. But, I think it's just making sure that they are left in the best position to continue succeeding. Versus just like, man, I ain't gonna be here in 2 weeks. This crap don't matter no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty apparent whenever, it's pretty apparent for those guys whenever they see the difference between those two, because they've seen the difference between the two, and it's just making sure that there's that open line of communication and being like, look, I may be leaving, but dude, I'm just a phone call away. You can always call me. I even talked to my upper management. I know that there's going to be some phone calls coming down the road, just making sure that you're not just burning that bridge, but you're still maintaining that relationship that you have with everybody. So I think that really goes long ways with understanding, the situation and why it is that you're leaving. You're not just leaving for more money or whatever it may be, but it's just, just life circumstances. So.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That's very similar situation I found myself in whenever I was leaving that same area, and it's a very challenging thing to do, right? And there's certain relationships that you deal with and certain individuals, I'm sure, that it would have been very easy to let yourself succumb to that mindset of, well, you're not necessarily my problem anymore. This isn't not my circus, not my animals kind of thing, And
But it's there are probably a couple different situations I could have easily just left for the next individual, but it's not the right thing to do, especially in the leadership positions that we were in. There's certain things that you need to make sure that you capitalize and take care of before leaving. Just to help out, that team success and the company success as a whole. So,
man, I can definitely appreciate you doing that and respect that attitude towards leaving and how you approach that, man. That's an awesome way to be. That's the same way I tried to approach it. And I mean, that's generally, I think that one thing that a lot of people forget about, and we talked about it before, is that everybody wants to have a positive outcome, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody that shows up to work, whether they're disgruntled, whether they have issues going on, whether they're a problem child, quote unquote, or whether they're doing their job to the best of their ability, we're all working towards something positively, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I mean, shoot, for both of us, right? We have that special opportunity, to help some of these guys find their buy-in, right? Find why is it that they're there doing what they do. And once you help them find that, you start to see changes in their attitude. And that attitude, everybody has influence on the work culture. And if you take care of their buy-in, then everything else falls into place. You help them find their purpose deeper than just turning wrenches or whatever it may be. Help them find that why, and you start to see some pride and care into what it is that they do, which just transitions into the relationship with everybody else. So.
Oh man, and yeah, that's something that applies directly into everything that we do here, right? Yep. We're talking about just personal development and finding your why. It gets a little bit cliche, but the truth of the matter is those guys are showing up to work because they want to provide the best future for their family, and they want to work to get themselves in a position to where they can be successful long term, right? And it's more than just showing up and punching that clock every day and what you do that day. It's a little bit of an investment to the future. And
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even getting them to buy into the team itself, right? If they have that strong relationship with everybody else on that team, they may see their self slacking and be like, well, dang, I can't let so and so carry more weight of the team just because of me. It helps them pick up their pace or whatever it may be, and help be more productive as a team member. So
yeah, no, 100%, and that's a very I don't know, it's a very tough position to find yourself in sometimes, because as a leader and as an individual, right, whether we're talking about leadership of people, whether we're talking about just everyday life, or it's your relationship with your wife, your kids, your family, whatever organization you're in, it's hard to be bought in yourself all the time.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard to be committed to eating 4,000 calories and going to the weight room for 6 sessions a week or 6 days a week with cardio sessions on top of that.
It is, man. It is. But I think what everybody needs to realize is that they have the opportunity to be a leader in what it is that they do.
I agree.
They have the opportunity to be a leader in the position that they are in. Whatever it is that they're doing, like, they can make that impact where they are currently. And I feel like a lot of people are like, once I get to that next promotion, once I do this, once I do that, then I can start making an impact. But no, like, you can make that impact where you are currently. And people need to realize that. So stop waiting. Start making those impacts.
There's a podcast me and you have kicked back and forth a couple of times.
Yeah.
It is the Dabo Sweeney and Ed Milet podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, he says it perfectly. Bloom where you're planted, right? Yep. Be the best version of yourself you can be exactly where you are. If you're the guy going and getting the coffee, you get the best coffee.
Coffee bringer there ever was.
Exactly.
Right. Yep.
If your job is to organize the files, do it better than anyone else ever has before. And it just bleeds into everything else. It affects everyone with the quality of work you're doing, what you're showing up and contributing every single day. And it does eventually lead to a path that is positive and puts you down a positive trajectory.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and we're not even just talking about professional life here, but shoot, I mean, your personal life. Like, if you stay dedicated and disciplined and consistent in the goals that you're working on personally, if you're going home and doing the shit that you don't want to do every day, but you do it because you know you need to, that is 100% going to carry you over into your professional life, whether you realize it or not. And it may be vice versa for some folks out there, but I promise you, if you do that, it will have influence on the other aspects of your life.
It will. And I mean, you can just see a micro example of that with what we have going on here, right? And there's so many people that have gotten involved with this movement and the situation, and it's a blessing to have you and Kendall involved. And then there's so many other, I've got so many great family members. We talked about Michael, my dad's super involved. Heck, we had Mark and Missy on a little bit ago, and there's way too many for me to sit out and list all of them, but we're super thankful. And even Dan that was on here, I think he placed 18 in a 100-mile ultra
Dude,
marathon
I saw
today.
That was insane.
Killed
it.
it. Congratulations, cool. Dan.
Yeah, congrats, dude. That was freaking awesome. I was looking at your mile splits too. I don't remember which mile, but he went from a 14-miler to like a 9:35.
Yeah, killing
it. I think it was like his 105th mile or something like that.
105th mile, yeah.
105th ran 9:35. Are you kidding me? Like, do you know how insane that is? It's freaking awesome, dude.
Just the conversation. I mean, us getting fired up like that's exactly what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Just growing blooming where you're planted, man.
Yeah.
He had the opportunity to go out there and just be super successful and give the best version of himself, man. It's firing us up.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. It's awesome.
It is freaking cool.
And I'm getting tired of the word awesome, but it's literally awesome. So
it is, and that's something I'm glad we can bring into this whole thing, and I'm glad we can have those kinds of people. And I'm super excited to see where the adventure keeps going with all of it, especially now that y'all are down here just right around the corner, man.
Yeah, we got some plans on the horizon. So
we do, and we'll be taking some of our own advice from this podcast, I'm sure, at times when things get tough and our backs are against the wall on some things, and outcomes look grim.
Yep. You just gotta keep on grinding.
That's exactly right.
Have faith in the process and keep going. So,
man, and shoot, I guess the only other thing
I'm trying to think of
we have going, question wise, too. What you got?
What you got, man?
I was gonna ask you the famous question I always ask
what
everybody.
Is next in line?
What's next in line for you?
Yeah.
After you do your bodybuilding thing, have you given any thought to? Because obviously this is a super restrictive process, and it puts you in. I say restrictive is a very perspective-driven word, right?
It is. You know, it's difficult, right? You know, we got the Habanero 100 coming up, and you know that kind of puts me in a tough position because, man, I want to get out there and be part of the team and you know go after it, but at the same time,
a 24-mile run's probably
not in my wheelhouse for my current plan. Could I do it? You know, I'd like to think I could. I think it's dependent upon where I'm at in my bulk or my cut. You know, that's gonna have some factor into it.
Well, it throws off the calorie side, like your diet side, but it also throws off talking about
my recovery,
you being sore for a few days or possibly injured.
Yeah.
So not being able to work certain muscle groups for weeks. I get it.
So there's a few different factors. You know, and that's kind of that thing where you know you could, but should you type deal? You know what I mean?
We could have a whole nother conversation. Whole nother conversation about that, man.
You know, I can get out there and grit out, you know, long ultra if I needed to, by all means. It's something, I mean, you know, our whole mindset shift over the past 2-3 years for us both have been pretty substantial, pretty dang awesome. I think that's a whole nother conversation we go into, but yeah, you know, so right now, we are currently shooting for a show, a physique show, early winter time frame. You know, and that brings up another point of, you know, with your Katy Trellis 225, where am I going to be for that? You know what I mean? You know, I know one way or the other I'll be up there in Missouri, but in what regard will I be up there? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, what role will you be playing out there? And to me, I mean, that just from the outside looking up, top view perspective, right? A sky view, looks like a crew, honestly. I mean, I don't want you to, that's potentially, I think some of the different distances between aid stations and switch outs are marathon length.
Yeah.
and that close to competition for winter, because we're talking October.
Yep. No telling, man.
It's tough.
No telling. Yeah. So it's just one of those things. We're just gonna have to see how it all pans out time wise. And my coach is aware that I'm still active in the ultra side of things, at least supportive wise, crew wise, and he knows I've gone and done some pacing, and he's even gotten some of my runs. And recently he was like, "Look, these are the cardio days that you got right now, and we got to just keep it at that for the next few weeks to see how it's looking." So I think he's trying to rein me in a little bit, which is understandable. We gotta maintain some type of consistency on my side too. I can't just have random 18-mile runs thrown into my plan.
And it's a discipline in a different regard, right?
It is. It's difficult, but so after my show, we'll see. So sorry, I didn't even let you ask the question, but
no, you knew what I was gonna ask. What's next in line for you? But I know you've got probably eyes on the prize right now with making sure you're staying focused on the show. And
I do. I think in the long run, I want to see this process fully. Sometime I'm going to see all the way through to the end, regardless of what that looks like. After that, I would like to think that, I want to maintain the lifting aspect of it, obviously. I find a lot of pros for lifting in the gym and retaining your strength, and maybe it may not be so physique guided per se, but definitely there's some pretty awesome stuff that can happen inside of a gym just from lifting. I definitely do see myself getting back into ultras. I think that there's a 100-miler out there on the horizon eventually. That's something that I don't know. I think it's just one of those things that you need to experience. I've seen you go through it a few times. I've seen your dad go through it a few times, and man, nothing lit me more on fire than seeing your dad come across that finish line and being a part of helping him go through that process. And man, I was screaming at the top of my lungs for that.
that was insane.
But I just like that. Like being part of big things like that is just what drives me. I've gone through and I've paced for just about everybody, I think. And I think down the road, I'm going to have to do it myself one of these days. So
time for everybody else to return the favor.
Yep, maybe.
Man, I'm here for it. I love it. I love to hear that. And big things have been a huge part of what we've been trying to do here, and just showing people what's possible. And you've been a huge part of a lot of different big things, and you're a huge part of what makes this thing keep turning, and all of these people successful that are involved in what we're doing. So thank you for that, first off. Man.
No, I don't know. I love it. I love the atmosphere, the culture that we are building as, next in line and everything else. And everybody that's involved, we got pretty awesome people that we surround ourselves with this movement. So
agreed, man. Only other thing I'm going to put out there, because it crossed my mind, and I believe whenever you put things out there in the world, such as like, oh, I'm going to go run a 225-mile ultramarathon, they tend to start coming to life. True. Right? Yeah. So I want to put this one out there, and it might be with you, because we want to talk about doing some ultra adventures and stuff like that. It might be with Barnes, Michael, my dad, whoever is part of this crazy crew, Dan, whoever's in here, right? It could be any of these people, and there's a slew that I'm not naming that could definitely fit the bill too. But there's some runs like Trans Rockies and Trans Alpine that are partner runs and things like that. 2-man team running stage races, got to check into checkpoints within 2 minutes of each other. 125 miles coverage in 5 days, stuff like that.
Be pretty dang cool.
Pretty exciting stuff. That might be something for us to look at here in a little while.
That, dude, adventure races. That's something that has always intrigued me, at least.
Hearing Chad Wright talk about the Revenant over there overseas.
Yeah, dude, that just seems like absolutely mind blowing to be able to experience something like that. I don't know, We like to keep life interesting.
That's right, man. Well,
So,
I won't beat you up for any more of your time. I know you've got things to accomplish and a busy week ahead of you as well.
oh yeah, you too, man.
Yeah, and I got to go knock down about 10 miles this evening, so we'll see how that goes. But brother, thanks for stopping in and being a part of this, and looking forward to having you on here pretty regularly if you're good for it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you again, and it's always a pleasure. I look forward to all opportunities that we have come across our way. So it's gonna be a dang good time, and everybody better hold on for it. So
Sounds like a plan. And man,
all right, brother, I appreciate you.
absolutely, brother. Thank you. And last thing, because I didn't do it earlier,
What you got?
if you receive value from this episode of the podcast or any other episode, make sure that y'all guys share the show with somebody who could receive that same kind of value. That's how we grow this circle of influence. We get more people in here just like Mr. Lane Divin, being a super positive influence on everybody that he comes in contact with. We're showing people what they're capable of, pushing to do these big things like ultras and bodybuilding contests.
Gosh dang,
Career
man.
changes, big move. No, just
Marriage.
Yeah, marriage. No, all the big things that we've been fortunate enough to be a part of. That's how we do that, guys. And also feel free to give us a follow on social media. That's at Next in Line Development on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Shoot us a DM there. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns.
Yep.
And with that,
Feel free to reach out as well.
there you go. Oh, Lane Divin. Lane.Divin. Is that it? On Instagram?
Lane.Divin, Lane_Divin. Hold on, let me see.
Well, hold on now.
Let me see, mate.
Long date.
Lane_Divin.
Lane_Divin on Instagram.
Divin. Yep.
Very good and knowledgeable on workouts and nutrition, mental toughness, a lot of different great things. But horsemanship, cowboying,
fishing, hunting.
yeah, help you out with
Honestly,
whatever.
mate, if y'all ever need anything, you're always more than welcome to reach out. And obviously reach out to Next in Line as well. So let's get after it, dude.
Sounds like a plan. Well, guys, with that, always be prepared for whatever is next in line. You wanted to say it with me, didn't you?
Almost did. It was like Next in Line.